WOTUS is back in the news. We're going to talk about those delicious Arkansas tomatoes and so much more on today's episode of the Arkansas AgCast.
You're listening to the Arkansas AgCast, where we discuss the latest news, trends, and issues impacting Arkansas farmers and ranchers. Our show is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau Federation and hosted by Jason Brown and John Nickman.
Happy Thursday.
We're back.
We're back.
It's been a while.
I said we took 4 weeks off. You corrected me and said we took 1 week off.
Not that long. It may have felt that way.
It did.
How was your trip to Georgia?
You know, it was pretty good. I've never been to Savannah.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know that I've been to Georgia outside of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Did you eat some good places?
Man, that's a cool town. Brian went along. What did you think?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Did you see where the bench was supposed to be for Forrest Gump?
I did.
Yeah.
That we did.
I did.
I was a little disappointed it wasn't there when I first saw it.
I kept looking for the feather.
Couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Disappointed.
There was much debate on which steeple the feather came down past.
You've
intro
been to it.
Yeah. We went on a ghost tour.
Really? How was that?
Yeah. It was pretty fun.
Did you get scared?
You know, I got a little spooked one time. I don't know if anybody's ever done these. One of these ghost tours. New Orleans has them.
You won't find
Savannah.
me.
Really? Oh, come on. No. Well, that's what I was going to say. They're really history tours.
Yeah.
With a little bit of fun mixed in, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not fun like somebody jumping out of a bush at you or something like that, but like, you know, some lore, some legend along the way.
I guess I would do a ghost tour before I did a haunted house.
Oh,
You know,
haunted house, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way,
Yeah.
Jose, am I in a haunted house. But ghost tours, I've done a couple in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Obviously, we did this one. It was a trolley tour.
Yeah.
So it allowed us to cover sort of more ground. But man, the history down there, we were walking to dinner one night and the streets, cobblestone, and somebody mentioned like early 1700s.
Yeah.
That street was laid.
Everything's real old out there.
Yeah, it really is. And Brian made the joke. I can't imagine we were, wearing tennis shoes. He's like, I can't imagine walking on in hard sole shoes like they used to wear back then across these streets. Like I'd be wobbling everywhere.
Yeah. I like to fell down a couple of times in tennis shoes. I couldn't imagine.
All the stairwells are noted like these are, I forget what the wording they use, like not old, but like not antique. But anyway, they basically say historic, I think.
Yeah.
It is a historic
Antiquities.
staircase
Yeah.
or whatever, because that town is on different levels because of the river, And man, I'll give it to them. They built the staircase back in the day.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a ruler on them.
Yeah.
They were steep.
This looks good.
Very
Stop
yeah. I think we're let me eyeball it.
People were 8 feet tall back then. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
Did you take an opportunity of all the good food down there? The Pink House? Did you get some fried chicken at the Pink House?
You know what? We didn't go to the Pink House. We did have some good food.
Yeah.
I think some of us managed to have scallops every meal.
I did have scallops.
He did have
they were fantastic.
He was on vacation not too long ago and bragged about how many scallops he ate too. You got a thing for scallops, man.
Hey,
I do.
scallop fan.
I do. And
I've eaten dinner with him more than a couple of times.
And watched him eat scallops.
Scallops.
I'm thinking about them right now.
Bad day to be a scallop.
You guys are making me hungry.
Yeah, no doubt. But we did, you know what? We did have some seafood. That's just a beautiful town.
It is.
I mean, people are kind. They've got the little squares, parklets, whatever you want to call those, that you can just walk down through, and everything's got a marker. Our hotel had a historic marker out in front of it that noted it was the site of barracks for Revolutionary War. Like, they're like, oh yeah, and then
Deep
we
history.
eventually built this hotel in 1886.
Yeah.
It's like, like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, this is just one building on this street.
Still here.
But the trees are art.
They
I don't
are.
think the trees are
entirely
art in and of themselves.
It's beautiful, man.
So yeah, we had a good trip.
Good.
Matthew still
Happy for you.
swears that our hotel was haunted, by the way.
Oh really? I didn't know
yeah.
that.
Yeah, he said that his front door kept opening and he kept hearing it sounded like doors were opening.
Yeah.
Like in the room.
Yeah.
And he'd get up and there's nothing there.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if you're just trying to spook us out or if it was actually happening.
Most of the racket I heard was just, I think the air conditioner had seen better days.
Yeah.
And it rattled quite a bit.
Yeah.
But,
either
who knows? Maybe it was a ghost.
I kept hearing people talk outside my window and I kept looking out and I couldn't see anybody. So I don't know what it was.
Maybe so. Just floating around there.
Like 4 a.m, just going on and on and on.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, if you took any pictures, go back and look for like orbs or.
Well, Matthew did. So on our ghost tour, we actually got to go in an old residence.
Yeah.
It was a museum now, the home of Andrew Lowe, I believe.
Yeah.
And he took several photos, and I don't know that he's gone back and investigated those yet, but we'll look into it.
Or back. I'd be interested.
Yeah, we will.
They're
Absolutely.
Creepiest dolls I've ever seen, by the way.
I was going to leave that part out, but now that you've brought it to the room.
We don't have to talk about it.
One of the rooms there was a children's room, and they had it still made up with dolls and everything.
Too many dolls. Uncomfortable amount of dolls.
I would
Uncomfortable
say over the
amount.
top, the top amount.
Like everywhere you look, dolls.
Like when the kid lived there weren't that many dolls in there.
Right.
They had added some.
Right.
Yeah.
And all of them looking towards the door.
All of them looking towards the door. All of them looking towards the door.
You walk around the corner and look in that room, you're like, oh, man.
Yeah, they were expecting you.
And one of them's on a tricycle.
No, I'd close that door immediately.
They wouldn't let you touch anything in that house.
Were you trying to touch the dolls?
No, I wasn't. Steve leaned up against the doorway, and they're like, "Sir, come on, keep moving." Like,
it didn't help that the tour guides were both dressed alike, like goth style.
Oh yeah,
and
very
I turned
spooky.
the corner once, and there was a girl. She was just standing there like this.
I know.
I was like, oh,
yeah.
Big character, man.
Yeah, I was all peeking in this room. I turn around, she's like a mortician. I'm like, oh,
she was. She's like right beside you, like.
You can't be sneaking up on me like that.
No, hey, give me a little space. On to brighter things. Memorial Day weekend last weekend.
Yeah.
Did y'all do anything fun?
Man, we did a lot of traveling, just back and forth between the in-laws and stuff like that. And then
were you doing the crawfish boil?
No, that was Mother's Day weekend.
Oh, Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Okay,
but we came back home, I think Sunday. Saturday we did a day on the river down there on the Mississippi River, and then came home Sunday and went over to a friend's house, ate burgers, and then Sunday we had people over and we ate burgers again.
Yeah.
Or I burned burgers.
Oh no, that's not.
It was a good job if you into burnt burgers. Whatever. I'm still eating on them.
Hey man,
hey, a burnt burger is still a burger.
Yeah,
you
put plenty of cheese on something and you can get past the burgers.
Amen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's right.
What about you?
Right.
Did you have a good one?
Yeah, we went on a little camping trip up to the White River.
Oh yeah,
and enjoyed. I mean, really couldn't have been better weather.
Yeah,
the entire weekend. We had a little float trip while we were there, and just enjoyed ourselves.
Was the water cold?
That water is around 50 degrees, and no humidity.
Yeah,
highs like maybe in the low 80s up there, and it was ice.
The Mississippi River was cold, but it wasn't that cold.
Ice.
Yeah.
You got in the Mississippi?
Oh yeah.
Really?
You think I'm too good to jump in the Mississippi River?
Dude, I'd be honest, it feels like a risky move.
I mean, I've swam in reservoirs before.
Oh, well, there you go.
Mississippi River's moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm a good
crazy.
swimmer,
I've never
too.
done that. Are you?
May not look like it, but pretty confident swimmer, I should say that.
I need to work on. So I've spent too much time just being lazy around the lake and I'll dog paddle over to the boat or whatever, kind of float on my back. I haven't just gone at swimming in a long time, laps or whatever.
It's good for you.
It is.
If I had a pool, I would swim laps.
I'll run in the pool sometimes at the gym. But anyway, how about y'all? What'd you do?
We had all the grandkids, so it was very
hotel.
Yeah, it was very
Hotel Pistol back open.
There you go.
Very good, and my son-in-law cooked up a big spread. So
nice.
I got quite full.
What'd y'all have?
Ribs, brisket, cheese dip with sausage, and
there you go.
Stuffed peppers, and
yes,
I mean
that's the ticket.
Quite the spread.
Yeah.
So I got my fill.
We did cook a brisket while we were gone. We hauled out one of the drum smokers and cooked a brisket all day, and it turned out pretty well. We made brisket tacos.
Yeah.
I've got a brisket in my freezer right now. I think I want to cook this weekend.
Yeah. So speaking of, I know we've talked about that before. I've got to go up to Michael's and pick up some beef ribs.
You should.
He's holding on to them.
You know what I have in my freezer right now?
I do not.
Scallops.
No.
Why do we not know that?
Yeah, exactly.
I got home from
Said it very proudly too.
Yeah.
Well, I got home from our trip, and Star goes, go look in the freezer, and I opened it up, and there were scallops.
Oh no!
I told her about scallops, and she went out and got some. So.
What's your best way? What's your favorite way to cook them?
It's usually like lemon butter and
that's
just
what
in
I
the
was
skillet.
Yeah. All right, I'm hungry.
Good stuff.
I'm hungry. Couple of orders of business before we get into the rest of the show. Speaking of burgers, we are going to record our first deep dive, AgCast deep dive. We talked about this last show, but we are introducing a new sort of element of the AgCast called the deep dive. Really in a response to you guys, the folks who listen to the show every week, saying, hey, I love the news, but I wish sometimes we would go a little bit deeper.
Yep.
And you did a story a couple weeks ago that we thought might be a good opportunity for this.
Jake Cartwright, another coworker of mine in our department, a fellow economist, gave us a story on beef and cold storage and the numbers, inventory numbers, and how they're going down, what that means. Like Jason was saying, I gave a little report on it, but in this deep dive, we're going to have Jake on to really take a deep dive into it.
Yeah.
And give a little bit more information just for those of you that, this may affect. I mean, it's going to affect all of us as consumer prices. So.
Is he going to cover what beef, like cold storage is?
Yes.
Just as a general item?
We're going to start at the ground level and work our way up.
Okay. Awesome. So today's Thursday. We'll have that out probably over the weekend. And ready for you guys. Of course, you can find it. It'll still be on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and things like that. We'll have links on our social. So, just keep an eye out for that. We're excited to have that. And then we'll be working on another one very soon. I think you guys are also working on a Farm Bill series.
Yeah. Brandy and Tyler have one coming out on or Brandy put an Ag Advisor out for the Farm Bill kind of overview. And then we've got some other things that within that we're going to work on as well and put out.
Awesome.
So I think Brandy would be a good one to have on a deep dive for sure, and see where they go from there.
We'll see if we can't work that out. Let me see. What else do we have here? The annual Edible Gardens Conference is scheduled for Thursday, June 15th. This came across my news feed yesterday, and I thought it would be a good one to share. So at the UAPB Agriculture Demonstration Outreach Center down in Mariana, this again, it's the annual Edible Gardens Conference. It's going to take place again on June 15th. It'll run from 9:30 a.m. to 2 in the afternoon. Registration is free. You can register on site that morning. And this conference is aimed at local growers and residents, gardeners, SNAP recipients, anybody really interested in food safety and eating a healthy diet using Arkansas grown foods. If you're interested in the conference, you can probably just do a quick Google search, or you can reach out to Caroline Powell at 870-489-5585. or Karen Lee at 870-575-7225.
Yep, that should be a good program.
Specialty crop. Note there, we're gonna cover specialty crops a few times today. And then quickly too, just on this issue of food safety, a note that speaking of Jake, that he mentioned to us that I wanted to bring up really quickly. We had a development, but I want to say before we talk about this, no concern really to us, but just something that we felt like we should mention since we were out last week, that there was has USDA detected the first case of mad cow in the U.S. since 2018, I believe.
Yeah, and as far as our systems are for detecting that, they're so far advanced that USDA was able to catch that mad cow disease before it became a real issue.
Yeah. Well, great.
So there's no concern there, but we felt like that needed to be reported on since we weren't here last week.
Yeah. Good deal. In the last little bit of news, and we're not going to go into detail of this at all, but if you haven't seen the news late last night or early this morning, the U.S. House has passed a debt ceiling bill. The next step will be to move on to the Senate. I believe over the holiday weekend they had pushed that sort of deadline for that from June 1st to June 5th. So it looks like we'll still be in time to catch that. But debt ceiling bill passed the House last night. Yeah, and all of the Arkansas members of the House passed or voted to support that. Okay. So I think that sort of wraps up the first part of the show.
You want to go on the news?
Move on to the news?
Okay. Well, Waters of the U.S. is back in the news. Imagine or not.
Imagine that.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Yeah.
So if you've been following us since January or since I've started, I think I've almost reported monthly on an update with WOTUS.
For sure.
And it's been kind of quiet, though, because all the pending rules or whatever they were going to come up with next was all set on what was going to happen in this Supreme Court ruling that came out Sunday.
Yeah.
If you've been following, you've already heard me put this out, but just kind of to give a background on what WOTUS and what's been going on. These WOTUS rules the Biden administration and EPA have been trying to push. They've basically been wanting to repeal what the last administration had in their waters of the U.S. And then establish what was back in 2015. And it can be considered a little more strict than they were under the last administration.
Okay.
This change, the current change they're wanting to make would increase the amount of bodies of waters that could be regulated in the U.S., thus potentially impacting landowners on their abilities to manage their own land. Kind of taking your right away from choosing what you want to do with something on your own property.
Right.
So all this has been hanging on the Supreme Court's decision in Sackett versus EPA. It was another case I mentioned a few weeks ago or a few months ago. The Sackett family used fill dirt and rocks during construction of a new home on their property in Idaho. The EPA originally issued a compliance order to order directing the Sacketts to halt construction, restore the land, and provide EPA with access to the site. Failure to comply with this order would have carried penalties of more than $40,000 per day of violation.
Wow!
Imagine that really add up. So, according to the EPA, the land contained wetlands subject to regulation under the Clean Waters Act, and therefore that use of fill was an unlawful discharge of pollutants into navigable waters of the United States without a permit. So the EPA is basically saying they didn't have the right permit to be able to move this dirt in this wetland area to build their house.
Yeah.
The Sacketts responded, of course, by challenging the EPA's compliance order by arguing that it was a final agency action subject to judicial review under the Administrative Procedure Act and that it deprived them from the property without due process of law in violation of the Fifth Amendment. Needless to say, this became a long, drawn-out process through many courts until the Supreme Court granted certiorari. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah, best I can.
Yeah, there you go.
In order to decide how to test for determining the scope of the Clean Waters Act jurisdiction with respect to wetlands. After conducting the Rapano's pluralities continuous surface connection test, a lot of big words here for me.
Yeah.
The majority concluded that wetlands separated from waterways by man-made structures such as roads would no longer be in jurisdiction of jurisdictional waters.
Okay.
So instead,
not following with them.
Instead of stating that wetlands separate from navigable waters cannot be considered part of those waters, even though they are close together. Justice Kavanaugh and Justice Kagan both drafted opinions stating that the Saggets did not require a permit, but both showed concern that this ruling would leave some long-regulated adjacent wetlands no longer covered by the Clean Water Act, with significant repercussions of water quality and flood control throughout the U.S. On the other hand, Justice Thomas urged that the navigability word be restored as the touchstone of Clean Waters Act.
Okay.
So these two justices, Kavanaugh and Kagan, all agreed that under this test that they concluded that how the separation of the wetlands from navigable waters was made, that they didn't have to have a permit to do this job on their property.
Right.
But they're also concerned that this new rule or ruling could have negative repercussions on water quality.
Yeah, unintended consequences.
So,
maybe.
Also, it's important to note the ruling that water separated by man-made structures are no longer under jurisdiction narrows the scope of the Clean Water Act's jurisdiction even more than the Trump administration's Navigable Waters Protection Rule. This rule included wetlands that directly abut to other regulated waters or are separated from jurisdictional waters only by natural berms, banks, dunes, or permeable artificial barriers such as dikes, levees, or roads. So more or less the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Saggets, but they also at the same time ruled that any wetland separated by a man-made structure from a navigable piece of water was not in jurisdiction of the EPA or this rule.
Yeah.
Also, on top of that, that's even less water that the Trump administration had ruled on before.
Yeah.
So, big change.
Scales it back.
Yeah. And this is going to lead to a lot of changes in the Clean Waters Act as well as waters of the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like it. Well, I think I actually had some conversation about this ruling in Savannah, and it sounds like this sort of ends the legal road for the foreseeable future for WOTUS. So it may give some clarity and stability to farmers. I know that's what we talk about a lot is the ever-changing rules to the game make it hard for a farmer to keep up.
And, if you are wanting to do some work on your property or people were concerned about the tail water recovery systems or reservoirs or ditches on their property, are those going to be under jurisdiction? This rule says it's not.
Right.
So
exactly.
That answers a big question.
Yeah. Well, all important ruling there. Good story to cover, and of course, if there are any updates there, we'll cover it. But maybe,
of course,
you can take a little WOTUS break.
I hope so. A lot of WOTUS for me.
It's been 2 weeks since our last planting progress report. Do you think we've completed planting in Arkansas?
Almost.
Oh, good. You've been keeping up.
Yeah.
Well, we are pretty close, but not yet finished, believe it or not. Today is June 1st, and as of Tuesday this week, these are the numbers. Corn planting is done and just about on track with the 5-year. 97% of the crop has emerged, which is actually ahead of the 5-year. Looking at crop condition, nearly 70% of the crop is rated good to excellent right now, and only 5% of that is in that poor to very poor category. So the corn crop's looking good.
Saw some really tall corn over the weekend.
Yeah, I bet you did. It's moving right along. All right, cotton planting is nearly complete at 94%. 75% of the crop has emerged, and both those indicators are well ahead of the 5-year average. The crop looks to be in pretty good condition, too, with 75% good to excellent and less than 5% in poor condition. But you saw some cotton, too, where you were?
I don't remember seeing any cotton, but I did talk to some people about some cotton.
Yeah?
They had a lot left to plant to Shea County, Ashley County area.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to talk about that here in a minute, actually. Peanuts are nearly done with 96% planted. 70% has emerged as of earlier this week. A great start compared to years past. The crop looks to be in great shape, too, with more than 80% being rated good to excellent by farmers in the state. One of our favorite crops to report on here on the AgCast, right? Rice.
Have a rice day.
Yeah, have a rice day. Rice is 97% planted and 93% emerged. If it's not in the ground by now, it may not make it in, honestly. We've got about a quarter of the crop that's rated as fair. I'm not sure what could be causing that. I don't know if you've heard
I haven't. I don't know if it's weather related.
I know it's starting to get dry, but nearly 70% of that rice crop here in the state, though, is doing well. Soybeans are bringing up the rear here, but that's to be expected. 89% planted, 81% emerged, and a staggering 3% of the crop is blooming. The crop quality mimics that of rice, about a quarter in that fair condition category, with another 70% rated good to excellent. And the first hay cutting of the year is moving right along, about halfway done, but there looks to be some quality issues with none of the alfalfa crop rated excellent, and only a small percentage of all other hay in the excellent column. Brian and I were talking yesterday. You were in Mountain View earlier this week. We came through there over the weekend.
Yeah.
And man, hay cutting everywhere.
Really? Lots of hay.
Lots of hay. Baled up on the ground, being cut. I mean, there's a lot of hay activity up there.
Well, I've been seeing a lot of people watering soybeans, popping polypipe, and getting after it. So
yeah, I think it's
corn
that
same
time.
way. But yeah, it's it feels good to be this far in.
Yeah, exactly. I know that, and speaking of all this crop quality, planting progress, all that, I know that here in Little Rock, today is the 12th, will be, I should say, assuming we get through the end of the day with no rain, will be the 12th consecutive day without a recorded rainfall. Where we were this weekend, as I said, pretty dusty, starting to see, I've started to see the first signs of rain dances on Instagram. It's we're starting to get to that stress point.
I pulled in my driveway the other day and looked at my grass. Like, oh man, I'm gonna have to start watering.
I started watering when we went to Savannah.
Did you?
That week? I started watering, and we're starting to, all the plants out on the deck and stuff like that. I've got some peppers, and we're trying to hit those dudes pretty regularly.
Okay.
And we're back in the 90s.
Yeah.
This week too. So anyway,
it's gonna start warming up.
That it is. It is.
Well, all right. Let's take a short break from the news to hear a reminder about keeping rural roads safe during planting season.
Arkansas farmers and ranchers work 7 days a week. That means when you hit the road, you may be sharing it with farm equipment, especially if you're traveling along rural roads and county highways. Farm equipment moves slower than our pickup trucks and minivans. They may not have the safety lights and turn signals of our family vehicles either. The trucks and tractors moving down the road need extra room to make turns, cross bridges, and move through intersections too. We all get in a hurry sometimes, but it's important that we all stay safe, no matter if we're headed to buy groceries or grow them. So next time you're cruising past a pasture or field, keep an eye out for farmers. They'll be sure to keep an eye out for you too. If we all work together, we can make sure Arkansas is cultivating safe roads.
It's so important that we work together to keep each other safe on the roads. You may find yourself on the road with a farmer moving hay this time of year, as we were just talking about. And of course, we're seeing all those row crop implements moving around too. Let's be sure to help one another cultivate safe roads. Johnny Mac, let's get back to the news.
Let's do it. So it's June 1st, right?
Yeah, that is.
So that means that we can start to expect Arkansas-grown tomatoes coming out of the field.
Yes.
Yeah. But, we're expecting some pretty good quality tomatoes this year, but farmers are also going through a bit of a challenge with competing growers across our neighboring countries.
Oh, really?
As well as input costs.
Okay.
So Arkansas's largest and probably most popular specialty crop harvest could start as soon as this week. Many growers and packers in the state have high hopes for this year's tomato crop and have already noticed good quality through the month of May. You may have even seen somebody start last week.
Yeah.
So
okay.
It's going to start moving pretty fast. Arkansas's tomatoes are usually the first field-grown vine-ripened tomatoes to be harvested in the nation.
Really?
And are always in high demand by consumers not only in the state, but also across the country.
Oh, interesting.
We ship
I did not know that.
All across the country.
Yeah.
So I pulled this information off an article from The Packer.
Okay.
that they put out last week. The Packer interviewed Gary Margolis, owner and president of the Hamburg, Arkansas-based Jim Tomato and Vegetable Sales, this past mid-May.
Okay.
The crops, as Margolis says, the crops at this time look exceptionally good. Arkansas has a significant following for vine-ripe tomatoes early in the summer. Mm-hmm. That correlates with, Arkansas tomatoes coming off first compared to other states.
Okay.
The Packer also talked to Hermitage, Arkansas-based Harrod and Hensley Tomato Company in Bradley County, which is nationally known as prime tomato growing country. Hensley expects volume to be consistent with last year's harvest, but both he and Margolis admit that marketing tomatoes could be increasingly challenging this year.
Yeah.
The increase in greenhouse tomato production in Canada and Mexico have put stress on Arkansas growers and packers alike. This type of production usually produces cheaper product at higher volumes, but some say it lacks the quality that field-grown tomatoes are known for.
Okay.
This has forced Jim Tomato to focus on marketing toward customers in the Midwest, who they say still recognize the value of field-grown Arkansas tomatoes, customers who are willing to pay a little bit more for that quality.
Yeah.
I also quote Margolis here. Field grown, in our view, is now the specialty. We're growing a limited production product in a limited window, and we still have customers who are totally committed. Hensley said that the inflation has also been a challenge for U.S. tomato growers. Prices probably have tripled on fertilizer, chemicals, fungicides, and the Arkansas hourly minimum wage has risen by $3 in the last 3 years, according to him. Mm-hmm. If you pay 100 people $14 an hour for 8 hours a day, and you produce 3,000 boxes of tomatoes, and you can only sell those boxes for $13, he says, you won't make any money.
Goodness.
Yeah. With that, I will say that, go out and support our local producers, especially our tomato producers.
Yeah.
It's getting harder and harder for them every year, especially with labor and input costs growing and rising so much.
Yeah.
A lot of these producers are starting to have to scale back their production.
Okay.
Because it's just gotten too expensive. But like I said, I'm excited because I'm ready for those tomatoes to hit my table.
I have questions.
Yeah.
All right. I hope you can answer. So when do you think, so obviously the Packer talked to these guys in mid-May. When do you think those tomatoes will be on available to us? We already know it's farmers markets.
Yeah, well, you got farmers markets and you got U-Picks. James Meeks down in it's Triple M Farms down in Hamburg. He's got his own U-Pick. So as soon as they're ready to
U-Pick a tomato, I didn't know there were any of those.
He's got squash, cucumbers, you name it.
Yeah,
zucchini, tomatoes. Man, it really just depends on how fast they can get them out of the field and truck to however far they're going.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Days, weeks, months.
Okay.
And a lot of these in that area down there, a lot of those tomatoes are being grown commercially, so they're being sold.
They're sold straight to
buyers or brokers and going to grocery stores across the country.
Yeah,
so that's going to be, of course, a longer span of time to get to your table.
You talked about supporting local farmers. Let's say I'm in Little Rock. I'm not down in Bradley County, and I'm going to the farmers market. How do I know that I'm laying eyes on?
Well, one thing the Arkansas Department of Agriculture has is Arkansas Grown label.
Okay.
They have Arkansas Made label. That label is free to anybody that's producing anything in the state.
Okay.
They don't have to pay for anything for it, but it's a great marketing tool for those growers to separate or differentiate themselves from their competitors or, tomatoes being sold at Walmart.
Yeah.
Now, you will see roadside stands of people selling Arkansas Grown tomatoes.
That's
that
what
case is usually that they went and bought all the ones that were on sale at Walmart and loaded up the back of the truck.
Loaded up the back of the truck.
And it's not just tomatoes. You'll see that with watermelons and others too.
Yeah.
So be careful. But there are also other farms around here in central Arkansas that grow local produce. Barn Hill's one. Y Mountain Berries is another. There's several more that I'm just drawing a blank on now.
Yeah.
So good Google search. It'll pop up and you could really entertain a family Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Either going to a farmer's market or going to an actual farm stand.
No doubt. BLT. That's what I'm making.
Are you?
That's if I've got a tomato, one tomato sitting in front
if you're going to use Arkansas tomato, you got to use Petit Jean bacon, right?
Yeah, I think you do. Or BLT.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about this the other day, didn't we?
Big BLT
it's
fan.
just coming back to me.
I like tomatoes as well as scallops.
I don't know if they'll pair.
Do you like tomatoes
I don't
with
know
your
if they'll
scallop?
pair. Yeah, I don't know if they'll pair.
I thought I had a challenge to work scallops into the conversation as many times as possible.
You did.
So.
Scallop theme podcast.
Do you like green tomatoes?
I like fried green tomatoes.
I don't think I've ever had a green tomato that wasn't fried.
That was a thing when I was looking at Savannah, like what food are they known for?
Yeah.
Fried green tomatoes. And they were on a lot of the menus, like fried chicken.
Sure.
But, my thought was, I think that's for people who come from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we can go get fried green tomatoes here.
Well,
we can get great fried chicken here.
I will say this. I proposed my wife in Charleston, which is just, an hour and a half from Savannah.
It's right there, yeah.
And we were there. They all asked us where we were from. We said Arkansas. They said, well, welcome to the South. Everybody.
Hold on.
Everybody we talked to.
Really?
Everybody. So it's like, we got
I don't know about
we got
that.
grits over here too. We got mosquitoes just like you do. So I don't know. That was something I took away from that. Sorry,
I'd have beef with that.
That is.
I think you're rubbing wife wrong. More than it did me.
Yeah.
I got tired of hearing it.
She lives in. She grew up in the Mississippi Delta,
she
right
did.
there.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's very
to the
funny.
South.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I've got one more news story real quick.
Yeah.
And just to wrap up the news today, there seems to be something attacking Arkansas state tree. We're not sure what exactly. And I wanted to talk to Tyler Oxner, our forestry economist, about this today. He's out of office, but we'll have a conversation and come back to this as this develops, because I don't think we've reached the bottom of this story yet. According to reporting from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, the Loblolly Pine is being attacked and in some cases killed here in Arkansas. The report notes that the threat is bearing down on Arkansas's timber industry, as large amounts of the tree had been planted across the state decades ago, as that cycle goes. Forestry experts in the state have some ideas about what could be causing the damage, but no hard proof as of now. Symptoms of the issue appear to include browning and dropping of the pine needles. Similar indicators have been seen in pines in other states around the southeast. I think Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, some as far back as 2017, according to the newspapers reporting.
It's just picking up really heavy now, or
it seems like it's moving almost west. According to the Arkansas Department of Ag Division Forester Chandler Barton, the browning has spread across tens of thousands of acres of trees in the state, mostly loblolly pines. He notes that last year saw a loss of residential pine trees in the Delta region of the state, and now the browning has spread west into Ashley and Drew counties. There's been at least one listening session held in the southern part of the state, and last week the Ag Department released a survey for the public to report discoloration or death. So trying to gather some data here. The survey can be completed at arcg.is/1HYHCU0. And because that's a complicated link, we will link that in the show notes. We'll also continue watching the story as it develops, but not great news for Loblolly Pines.
The ash beetle was a big issue. I mean, it still is, don't get me wrong, but man, for loblolly, that our main economic driver for forestry in the state of Arkansas, that's not good.
It's
needless to say,
it's kind of a
expert analysis
deal
there.
So I will tell you that we're barely scratching the surface of the story the DemGaz did. They talked to Joe Fox, state forester, and many others. So if you're interested in this topic, or if you're not already engaged in it, you can certainly read that story, and we'll keep an eye on it and hopefully have more.
Yeah, hopefully they figure out what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that wraps up the news. Mr. Pistole, you got anything fun for us?
I do.
Scallop jokes by chance?
Yeah.
I left scallops out of it, but I did pull foods into it.
Good.
Good. I'm famished by now.
I'll be impressed if you get these.
Okay.
So I'll just throw that out there.
Okay.
It's hard.
It's a challenge.
Complicated.
He doesn't have confidence in us. That's the way I look at it.
Question number 1.
Okay.
Where do kiwi fruits originally come from?
I want to say Madagascar for some reason.
Really? Okay. I was going to say Brazil. First thing off the top of the head.
Would you believe China?
China? No, I would not.
No?
I wouldn't have guessed that. So
I like a good kiwi, though.
Yeah?
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I like kiwi on like a dessert pizza. You You ever had that before? Like whipped cream.
Yeah.
Different fruits.
Yes.
Kiwi tends to stand out on that.
Yeah.
This makes me think my grandmother would make a peach pizza. And I'm not talking like the dessert pizza you get at Pizza Inn or whoever. This thing was a pie crust, spread across a round pizza pan with whipped cream, peaches in the fridge, stored in the fridge. Never saw an oven.
Yep.
Except for maybe the crust, I guess. And that's what you made me just think of.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Man, I'd like to have one of those. I haven't had one of those in years.
Starving.
Yeah. All right, sorry. I digress.
All right, number 2. What was the first fruit that was eaten on the moon?
It was dehydrated, I'm sure.
Yeah, strawberry.
The strawberry or an apple or banana?
We could just go through all of them.
Yeah, I mean, you just gonna name all the fruits?
Just waiting for you to say yes.
Yeah.
It was a peach.
A peach.
All right.
Well, that was gonna
any
be on the list,
significance
too.
there? Was the astronaut from Georgia or?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I didn't make up these questions and cannot verify them or anything, especially not this next one.
Okay.
I do have questions about it, but
Okay.
I've attempted to research it, and it's all over the place. And so,
Okay. Well, here lately, your questions have caused more questions.
Yeah.
that was the intent.
Okay. All right. Now we know.
So, okay. What was the ice cream cone invented for originally?
The ice cream cone. I don't know. Other than walking around, like a mobile way.
Was it used as a dessert still?
No.
Was it not used to eat?
No.
So we're talking about the cone itself, not the finished product, ice cream on cone. We're talking about the cone.
The original cone.
A sandwich.
Close, but no.
No. Close. But you're
According
still
to
an idiot.
this,
Pizza.
whoever came up with this,
Macaroni and cheese. We put French fries in it.
a tennis racket.
Yeah, exactly.
No, apparently it was used to hold flowers.
Oh, so like a biodegradable vase.
Yeah, and
If you got hungry?
if it was, I mean, it could have been. You know, when you think cone, you think like either waffle cone or some of the other cones
Right.
we get today. It could have just been a cup, but
Yeah. Okay.
some of the stories I read, a guy was courting a lady and he had ice cream and he also wanted her to have flowers. So he wanted her ice cream and flowers.
That's interesting. Well,
So,
a lot
there you have it.
of our food delivery systems,
Yeah.
like the burrito, has history back to just necessity.
Yeah.
You know, or necessity is the mother of all inventions, where, you know, they need a way to basically take a sandwich and take it out in a field to work or whatever that may be.
A good documentary to watch. My wife's been watching it, The Food That Made America. Mm-hmm. And why, like, American cheese is here, popsicles,
Really?
and ice cream trucks, and stuff like that. Saltine crackers. It's
Really?
I mean, the reason these things came along were basically out of necessity.
Yeah.
Food waste or rot, you know, different depression, you know, just
reusing or what. I mean, like, I mean, there's so many desserts that are
was a
basically
History
just
Channel
like
deal.
flour, milk, and whatever. And because, you know, we wanted to have, something sweet, but we just didn't have the money, you know, or whatever.
Yep.
That's
Whatever happened to that one comment or the question you had for us? You couldn't eat cherry pie on a Sunday walking down Main Street in Ohio or something?
Yeah, Ohio, yeah.
Did you ever?
I didn't research it. I need to.
We need to figure that out.
Yeah, I need to. We should research some of these, or I guess you're actually pointing the finger and saying you should research these questions that you're throwing at us.
Shouldn't he?
So
I have a question. Speaking of food, I have a follow-up to the tomato question that I can't get off my mind. Watermelon. Arkansas watermelon.
Yep.
When?
July. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little.
You may
early.
see some towards the end of June, but July is usually. Tomatoes will go into July a little bit, but then you'll start seeing watermelon for sure.
Okay. All right. That's what I need to know because man, I've got that on my mind. We bought one for the weekend. But it was fine.
Yeah, if you bought one now and it said it was from Arkansas, it's a lie.
It did not.
Yeah.
No, it's just supermarket watermelon. So, all right. Well, that wraps up the news for this week and all the food talk you need. Thanks for following along with the Arkansas AgCast. We're grateful for you taking the time to watch or listen.
Remember, you can catch new episodes on the show every Thursday afternoon. Find video episodes on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the audio version on iTunes or Spotify, and make sure to subscribe and leave us a review when you have a few extra minutes.
Yeah, the Arkansas AgCast is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau. I'm Jason Brown.
And I'm John McMinn.
And we'll see you next week.